Hey, here are 5 really important things to consider before you go for your next UX design job interview. Now, I have been in design industry for over a decade, which means I have been on both the sides. I have gone for lots of design interviews during my career, and I've also interviewed heaps of designers for potential job roles. In the last 2 years, however, I've started to give a lot of design mentorship for designers here in New Zealand and also other countries. And there has been a common thread that I've noticed a lot while speaking to these designers is that they're like, hey, we sent in our resume, we sent in our portfolio, and then we were called for a job interview, but we couldn't make it through the interview. During that, I started to investigate and dig deeper into why were they really rejected during the interview. And there have been a couple of common threads, which I would say that if they had done it differently, they would have probably landed that job. So based on all that research during my mentorship sessions and also during my own design career, I gathered these really 5 important points that you can benefit from if you're going for your next UX design job interview. Now, before getting into this, we need to understand what are the interviewers looking for. Now, chances are that if they have called you for an interview, they have already seen your work and your resume and they like what they have seen. So they have called you for an interview. Now, what they're looking for is trying to understand you as a person, if you're a culture fit or not. They want to be able to imagine you working next to them, how you will be with the rest of the team, and how will you be to work with as a person. So they're really trying to understand you as a person and how you would be in a good fit in the team or not. So keeping that in consideration, we have to understand that when we go for an interview, it's more about the culture fit as well, not just your skill or your design aesthetics and these kind of things. So let's get into these 5 really important points that I want to share with you. So the first one being, do not follow a template. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times when we go for job interviews, we follow this really old school template that the employer will introduce themselves and then you will introduce yourself and then you will show the work and so on and so on. I just think that following this templated structure is so redundant, and especially it's not really applicable when you're going for a creative job or a design job or a UX design job, because it's more about them wanting to understand if you are who you are as a person, if you will be a good culture fit or not. I think of it as a conversation. You are meeting another designer, or you're meeting another human being. How would that look like? When you meet a friend, you do not structure your conversation that, I'll meet this person and then we'll order coffee and then we'll talk about this and that. The conversation should naturally flow. So when you go for the interview, the first thing to consider is that do not follow a structured template. Just be a human being. Just have a good conversation. Maybe they want to start telling about themselves or about their company. Ask questions about it and then see if the conversation allows. Then you start talking about yourself. You don't always have to go and start showing your case studies and your work and talk big about yourself. It is a conversation. An interview is a two-sided conversation and it should feel natural. When it will feel natural, they'll be able to imagine you working in their team. How will day-to-day look like, So do not follow a template, please. The second thing that a lot of time designers do wrong is they just go for a job interview without any preparation. And when I talk about preparation, I don't mean that you need to know your design concepts or design ops and all of these things. When I say preparation, it's about really knowing the company, the team that you will be working with. A lot of times people go in without knowing anything about the team that they'll be working with, without knowing so much about the company, what they really do. So when you have been called in for an interview for a design job or UX design job, go and dig deeper. Really try to understand what the company does, what do they really expect from your role, how's the team like, who is in the team, what are their skill set and specialities, who will you be really working with. When you have done all that kind of research before going into an interview, when you're asked questions, you are then able to give answers that actually resonate with their team values, that actually resonate with the company values. Do not think that if you're a good designer, you can just ace any design interview and you can just walk in anywhere and give the same kind of answers. No, you really need to dig deep and understand what the company does, what the team is specifically does, who are the people in the team, what are they doing, what kind of work do they produce, And then you have to do a personality match. Like, are you someone who sees yourself working in that team or not? Is there a culture match? Is there a personality match? So always do some research and some preparation before going into an interview about the company, about the team you'll be working with, and about the job description. What exactly will you be doing? The third thing that a lot of time designers do wrong in an interview is either over explaining or under explaining. And what I mean by that, like, a lot of times you're asked a question about a design problem that you solved or something about your career. A lot of time designers will go in such a detailed answer, they'll talk about it for half an hour, and you really lose the interviewer's focus. Then you really lose them. You don't want to be over explaining something. You don't want to be going so much in detail that it just gets boring. Because let's remember the first point, it should feel like a natural conversation, and it should feel like a pleasant conversation rather than a whole half an hour lecture. The other thing a lot of times people do wrong is under explain, which means there has to be some important details that should be shared with the interviewer, and then you didn't share that. You didn't sell it really well. So that's also super important, to give the very bullet points and very important points about the project or whatever you're talking about. So over explaining is bad, under explaining is also bad. So just keep a really nice sweet balance of your of how will you answer a specific question when you're asked. Now the other thing that can really help you stand out when you go for a UX design job interview is asking the right questions. Asking right questions is all about really wanting to understand the team and the company and the person that you're speaking to. So asking the right questions could also mean that ask about, hey, when was the last time you promoted someone in your team, and what did they have to do to get promoted? Asking a question like, hey, for this role, have you considered someone from inside the team to put on this position, or are you just hiring a new person? These kind of things really give you an insight about the team, about the company and how they operate and all these kind of things. And these are just example questions. Like, there are heaps of really good and right questions. Ask genuine right questions that actually give you some insight about the team and about the company. The last and another important thing is actually having some sort of drive and some sort of love for why you want to work in that company as well. This is such a typical one that people ask, why do you want to work here? And the stupid answer is, oh, because you're hiring, right? But you don't have to give those kind of answers. You have to ask yourself that question. What is so different in that company that took you to apply for that job? And you didn't apply in so many other companies that are hiring. So really find that key value in why you applied for it. Why would you love to work there? How do you align with what the company is doing, or what's their values? Or it could even be people. Maybe the team has some really inspiring teammates, and you want to work with them. Maybe there are some really award-winning designers that they work in that team, and you want to work with them. So it could be about the people, it could be about the company, but there has to be a really good reason for you to apply in a specific job, in a specific company. So have that answer ready. The one last thing I also really want to talk about is a lot of times we go into an interview really nervous, and that is such a basic thing, but it really can make or break the situation. If we go into an interview and we are nervous, we do not give answers to our best potential. We do not perform to our best potential. So a lot of times we go nervous, and that can really break the situation. So try to stay really calm and go in really calm when you go for an interview. And the key how you can actually achieve that is to not take any pressure. When you're going for a job interview, don't think you are going to beg for a job, or you desperately need that job. Even if you do, don't let that take over your mindset, right? So go in with a really calm mind. Think about it in this way: it's a two-way transaction. It should also be the place where you really want to work. So it's a two-way transaction. It's not that they are doing you a favor by giving you a job. So it should also be the place where you really want to work. So go with that mindset. Then you actually know that you're on the same level. It's not that you're going there asking for a favor. And when you go with that sort of mindset, you are a lot more calmer. you are not nervous or scared of how will I perform in this interview and all of this kind of stuff. Don't let that take over your mind. Just go without any fear, and you will do really, really well. I'm also giving a lot of free design mentorship for younger designers. If you would be keen to do that, there's a link in the description. You can book yourself a free session with me. The slots are really, really limited because I don't really get much time to do that, but I try to do it over the weekend. So if you'd be interested to have a quick chat, feel free to book yourself a slot if there's one available. Best of luck, and just please don't be nervous, and yeah, you'll do great. Thank you.